All right, everybody. Welcome back to another live episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. This is episode number 27. I can't believe that we've gone 27. This is fantastic. I think we started this time last year, so it's awesome that we've come this far. Hopefully you all are enjoying the content, and now that we're live, we're on the hot seat, right? We can't mess up. We got to tell you things live on the spot. We are coming to you live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and now we're even doing Twitter. So after the end of the podcast, we will have replays available on all of those networks, as well as some clips that we'll be pushing out through social media. So lots of information, and especially this topic. We are really excited about this topic. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Ramin. I'm one of the managing partners here at SKU Agency, and I am your host. And I might look a little different today. I've got a beard going, but let's see how long that lasts. All right. And before we get started, I just want to let you know that we have a special webinar that we're doing in conjunction with Commerce 7 this Wednesday, December 7th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Central time, and 1 p.m. Eastern time. It is all on the topic of how email marketing All right. So let me ask you a question. Who likes wine out there? I know I do. I love wine. I think it's an amazing libation, and enjoy it responsibly, of course. Let me tell you that today's episode is all about wine, and specifically how wineries across the United States and even around the world can be using the power of email marketing automation to skyrocket their direct consumer businesses. From winery tasting rooms to wine clubs, email marketing is providing the most important retention and sales growth tool that wineries can use today. Today's guest joins us from the top email marketing platform, Klaviyo. We love Klaviyo. We've had a lot of guests on from Klaviyo. It is awesome. We are big fans of what can be done with Klaviyo. Our guest is an account executive at Klaviyo and is part of the team focused on the direct consumer email marketing initiatives for wineries and wine retailers. So I can't think of anybody else who's better to dig deeper with into this topic. So without any further ado, please welcome Michael Kurson to the E-commerce Revolution podcast. Michael, awesome to have you here today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Ramin. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So what part of the world are you calling in? Same place everybody else from Klaviyo calls in?
We are right outside of Boston. So headquarters is in Boston. We've got team now in London, Australia, West Coast as well. So we've kind of got all the different hemispheres covered at this point.
I love it. And as I mentioned, we've had some really good guests from Klaviyo on, and you guys have always been very generous with your time coming on, talking about email marketing, SMS marketing, depending. But today, I'm really excited to talk to you about wine and how email marketing can really help wineries grow. And I think you and I met maybe 2-3 months ago, and it's been a fast process to get to this place, and we are really excited to be talking about it. So just before we jump in, I'm curious, what brought you to Klaviyo? Tell me about your background in the alcohol beverage industry, the progress that eventually led you to Klaviyo.
Sure. So back in 2016, I started a hard seltzer company. So right around the time that White Claw and Truly launched, had some experience in the beverage space and teamed up with one of my childhood friends to start that company. Nice. And we ran that company for about 3.5-4 years. And so it was an awesome experience, right? I learned so much about the alcohol industry and the business model behind it. It became something that, I was passionate about. And throughout that process, we kind of watched the evolution of how alcohol could be sold online, right? With newer age products and even looking at like wineries and things like that, right? And so when we finally decided like, hey, we're going to wind this down, there was a lot of competition. We had some operational challenges, but ultimately, I was very passionate about the ability to personalize at scale and really understand different customers in their different parts of the journey. And, for that 3.5 years, like the data that I was able to see and the things that I was able to learn and understand about my customers was very much person to person, right? Sitting in an alcohol store, giving out samples, meeting with the distributor, what locations or areas might work. But Klaviyo kind of takes the hood off of that and allows you to see really on another scale and level how are people engaging with you online? And
Nice.
so once we went down the hard seltzer company, it was kind of a natural evolution into working at Klaviyo and being able to understand personalization at scale and be able to communicate with people, based on where they're at in that customer journey. And so that's what really attracted me to Klaviyo as a company. Since I've been here, we've grown pretty considerably over the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
ultimately that's what got me into this winery project, was because of my previous experience in the alcohol space and kind of marrying the two together.
So, and wine, as we've discussed, is a very, and wineries specifically are very important to Klaviyo. Klaviyo seems to be very focused in this market, in a lot of other markets as well. But this is and we love that passion in there. Just how did that, how big is that team focused on the winery space?
So we've got a small team, but it's a focused team. So we've got our strategic partnership team behind it. We've got me as an account executive. So I actually work customer facing with a lot of these brands. And then we have some third parties as well. So SKU Agency is a great agency that's working specifically with wineries to build out their platforms. We also have our systems integrator, and a big shout out to Bodhi from Digimatic, who several of the wineries that I'm sure are going to watch this or are watching this are familiar with. So he's from Digimatic and built out the integration between Commerce7, which is a popular wine platform, and Klaviyo. And it's an awesome integration. I've seen a ton of brands have success on it, but Bodhi's been an integral partner with us on the technical side and really kind of set all of this up for success. So.
Yeah, no, we love Bodhi. He's the one who led us to you, and has been so helpful in us, really getting, up to speed, bringing our expertise in the email marketing side of things and really applying it to the winery world. So that's awesome. And I appreciate you giving a plug. And we just put up a screenshot of his site. And obviously a very important component is having that integration, specifically with platforms like Commerce7 and making sure Klaviyo works and is integrated tightly. And that is what his software does. So that's great. So tell me, tell us, why a winery? Why is email marketing so important to a winery? Why should they really put that? If they're not doing it, why should they make it very important?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And I think I'm going to take a half a step backward, and that I think will help us get to a strong answer there, which is, I think that the first piece of this, right, is understanding and unifying customer data. So wineries have so many different channels that they're engaging with and interacting with their customers on, right? So someone might go to a winery and visit that winery and do a tour. They might go into the tasting room and buy product. They might buy that product at their local liquor store. They might order that product directly off of the website. There's so many different channels that people can engage on. And so I think, to have a really strong and effective email marketing strategy, which I'd really like to call like a communication strategy, you have to understand where and when all of these customers are engaging with you, right? And so that's the first piece of Klaviyo that's super important, which is through Bodhi's integration, we pull over all of the relevant metrics in a very easy and seamless way so that you can understand as a winery, like, how are people engaging? And so you can see things like how much money has a customer spent with you? How frequently do they shop with you? Are they a member of the wine club? Were they once a member of the wine club? And all of these really important metrics that help you determine what bucket or what stage that customer or wine club member is in. And then you can use all of that information, right? Partnering with a team like yours at SKU, or some of the ones that we have on the platform.
Oh, looks like we got a
little.
little.
Actually built this there themselves as well. Quick pause there. Do you want me to repeat that last piece?
Oh, no, keep going. Roll with it.
We're good. Cool. Sweet. So being able to use that information to communicate in a personal way at scale. Right. So you can say, hey, look, we want to reach out to everyone who's on our wine club. We want to set up automated customer journeys to engage with people after they've visited our tasting room or gone on a winery tour. And these are the types of journeys and communications that have really helped wineries understand and leverage that data and communicate with it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, tell me if I'm new, if I'm a winery and I'm very new to the email marketing world, maybe I've sent out a blast here and there, but I'm really not using it. What do you suggest? Where do I start? And I've heard this name Klaviyo. It's starting to pop up in my world. What would you suggest for me to just get started so I can take advantage of what's happening out there?
Yeah, good question. So maybe I can give a little bit of an overview about Klaviyo.
Hmm.
So Klaviyo has been around for about 8 years now, and we have over 100,000 brands on the Klaviyo platform, combination of Shopify and BigCommerce and WooCommerce, and now Commerce7, which we've had an integration with for a little bit over a year now. And basically, the reason that we exist and the reason that so many brands use our platform is because of the return on investment that they see on this channel, right? Email marketing typically makes up about 30% of overall revenue online and can typically increase total online revenue by 15 to 29% when moving from a basic platform that maybe sends out campaigns to a platform like ours where you can use things like segmentation, automated customer journeys, and targeted campaigns, again, kind of scaling out that content in a more personal way that matches the stage and the journey that these people are at. So I think those are some light numbers and a light overview of what Klaviyo is, why we exist, and how we help our customers really generate additional revenue and help them communicate at scale with their customers.
Okay.
Yeah.
As we've started, into this world and really started helping wineries get up and running with email marketing, admittedly, and listen, we love Klaviyo. We're, a Klaviyo shop. That's how we always been. But admittedly, we find a lot of wineries are using MailChimp and some are using Constant Contact, and they're not even integrated in some situations like that. What at the end of the day, what makes the transition? If I'm a winery and using another platform, I potentially may be intimidated to make this happen, make this jump over to Klaviyo. What can you tell the audience out there that would make them, help them understand that it's not that big of a, it's not a huge jump, right? You're just
Yeah.
moving to another place and really taking advantage. I'd love to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it starts with the integration and the way that Klaviyo is set up.
Mm-hmm.
So we've built our platform at scale to
Mm-hmm.
allow small and large teams alike to operate and leverage the platform fully. So the first piece is the integration. It is super easy. If you're in Commerce7, it's in the App Store. It's a one-click integration. And with that one click, you're going to pull over all of your customer data into Klaviyo. It's also going to bring over your full product catalog, which is going to allow you to make your email shoppable, right? So let's talk a little bit about that piece right there, bringing over the data. MailChimp is a list-based system. And for sending out a campaign to your full audience, it's actually a pretty effective tool. But when you want to take it a step further from sending out just campaigns to your full audience, and you want to start to understand that data and create pockets of value and pockets of your different customer base that are engaging in different ways, Klaviyo is going to allow you to do this because rather than being a list-based system, we are a profile-based system. So for example, if Ramin is a customer of your winery and he's in the wine club and he's visited in the last 3 months and he's purchased a Pinot and a Syrah and a Chardonnay, Ramin is going to have his own profile in Klaviyo that on a timeline basis is going to show you what Ramin has done and what Ramin has engaged with and what he's opened and clicked from an email perspective, when he's actively on the site and what products he might be interested in based on what he's viewing. And this all happens automatically. You don't need to have any technical prowess or resources to be able to do this or understand how that looks. As mentioned, a lot of the brands that are on the Klaviyo platform today have built a lot of this out themselves, but I think the SKU agency is an awesome resource that can help these brands connect everything together, find those pockets of value, and identify the strategy that's going to create a really strong return on investment. But I know that I'm getting a little ahead of the game. Very simple answer here is MailChimp, pretty standard campaigns. Klaviyo is going to allow you to really, level up and reach out and communicate at scale in a more personal way.
Yeah, we always refer to it as modern day, email marketing. Really, at the end of the day, what Klaviyo brings to the table is that ability to have that, leverage that modern day email marketing. Gone are the days where you just send out that blast to the whole list and see what happens, right? That's not what, that is definitely far from what Klaviyo does so much more than that. And we love it. And listen, we run across this all the time. People give it a start on their own. They get started, they, connect, and they start building out. But what we find, and this is just from our experience, is that so much of Klaviyo is not leveraged in those scenarios, and that's where an agency comes in and gets in there and really starts optimizing and testing and building out new flows. And so let's talk about flows a little bit, because this is really ultimately the world of automation, aka flows. This is where the power is. This is where from our experience, one of the ways, and we'll talk about the other way in just a second. But just for those people who don't know what email automation is, I'll just give you a nice definition. Okay, is a way to create emails that reach the right people with the right message at the right moment without doing the work of setting up and sending an email every single time, that blast, if you will. So from your perspective, let's talk about these flows. What are some of the essential flows a winery should put in place immediately after connecting Klaviyo?
Yeah. So I'll start at the top, and then we can go into maybe some more winery specific. But typically, the number one flow for any online business that's selling products direct to consumer is going to be cart abandonment, right? And that's when someone goes into the store online, adds a product to their cart, and doesn't end up checking out and buying that product. And this would be an automated reminder that dynamically pulls in that product that was abandoned, sends them that email after a couple hours, right? So you can set the timing on this, and that's really important, right? You don't want that to go out immediately, right? If someone makes a purchase within that first couple hours, the email actually won't be set. But if they don't make that purchase, typically we'll see about 11% conversion on a cart abandonment email. And this would be a flow. So it'd be a first email that comes in, dynamic product. And then if they don't make a purchase after 24 hours, we can actually send another follow-up email that says, hey, you've left this in your cart, come check it out. And people will then click on that button in the email. It will rebuild their cart on their website through Commerce7, and they'll be able to very quickly and easily make that purchase.
That's great.
Another excellent flow, and this is a winery specific flow, is a replenishment flow. So many of these awesome wineries, whether they be in California or Oregon or Washington State, right? They're seeing like high traffic of people coming to their winery, right? Visiting, having that awesome experience, and then they go home from their vacation, and there really isn't any communication to keep these people engaged, right?
Right.
But for example, I went to Napa about 4 weeks ago and visited a couple of the wineries that are on Klaviyo, and made a couple purchases at those tasting rooms. And now that I've been back for a couple of weeks, I've gotten a couple emails that say, hey, how did you like that Syrah that you brought home or that you shipped home?
Nice.
Would you like to reorder that product? Right.
Yeah.
And this is a super effective way to turn that one-time visitor or two-time visitor into a repeat customer, which can then parlay into a potential wine club member.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost out of sight, out of mind. Like you may just forget about it. You may have enjoyed that wine, right? And then life happened, and they're now reminding you about that experience. It's great.
Right. So yeah, I'd say those are two of the core flows that the brands are using, wineries are using. And then you have some other core ones as well, like a welcome series, right? Someone signs up for emails and they want to learn more about the winery. And this is a place where you can tell your winery story and then also promote some of maybe your new vintages. So yeah, I think there's a few core flows that brands are using, but I think there's so much more that can be unpacked, whether it be testing out messaging, whether it be figuring out more intricate ways to communicate, whether it be breaking this down by cart value, right? There's a lot that you can do here in the Klaviyo platform.
No, that's great. And I appreciate those. And those are, spot on. And, when we come into a scenario like this, we focus on the core flows immediately, especially if they don't have anything at all. And then from there, as time goes on, we're obviously optimizing those flows, trying to, squeeze more out of those as much as possible. And then we get into a scenario where we're starting to look at the other flows. We're starting to bring other flows into the mix, but you have to have that core. That core can take you pretty far for quite a while. So that's great. Well, let's talk campaigns because, again, I don't like using the word blast out there because I think that's a very old school term. That's, the old way of doing email marketing. We talk campaigns and, in some sense, campaigns are, you can send to the entire list, but more so these days, campaigns, these are what you're creating. You're creating these campaigns, sending them out, but you can send them out to segments. And we'll talk about segmentation in a moment. What's your take on the world of campaigns and some best practices that maybe wineries should be aware of when creating their campaigns?
Yep. I think this is a really important topic. And I think, like you mentioned, campaigns and segments are kind of one and the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similar to how, Klaviyo using customer data to be able to personalize at scale. So when we look at campaigns, a lot of brands are sending, a lot of wineries are sending full list campaigns, sending out a campaign to everyone who's on their list. Happy holidays, or it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday could be a good example of maybe a message that you would want to send to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you look at how you're messaging with people at scale, you typically want to break it down, right? You might want to say, hey, we want to send out just an email to the people that have spent a specific amount of money or more over the past year, but are not actively on our wine club. Or maybe we want to send out an email to everyone who lives within 50 miles of the winery to invite them into a tasting event. Or perhaps we want to send an email to everyone who was on the wine club last year, but is no longer on the wine club this year to get them to try to re-engage, right? And to be able to do that, you have to be able to leverage all of that data that you're collecting very quickly and easily. The way that we do this is through segmentation, right? It's click and point. There's no code involved, and it extrapolates out the results within a matter of minutes. And then you can use these segments to actually message and send campaigns to these different types of customers that you have, right? And so when we look at campaigns in Klaviyo, our most successful customers, our most successful wineries are building out these segments of the different pockets of value and the different customers and the stages that they're in. And then they're communicating with them with a little bit different messaging between the two, right? For example, you probably want to send a different campaign to someone who's never shopped with you compared to someone who's been in your wine club for 3 years and you're trying to promote your new vintage or to reserve a vintage of previous.
Yeah, that's good. What about, and we get this question a lot. I mean, that what you speak to, you're speaking to is very important. And, some of the back end technicalities that every winery should be aware of when it comes to campaigns. But we get the question about, what about the design? How important is the design? How important is the look and feel of it? What do I need to do there? And what do you recommend? So what are your thoughts on design and what to do to make your design spot on for your brand?
So I think there's a couple really great pieces here, which is Klaviyo's new template editor, which we released just a couple months ago, has global features. So for example, if you bring in your logo and your coloring and your design scheme, you can actually have that format perfectly and automatically to all of the flows and campaigns that are being sent out, right? So from a brand feel standpoint, we give you those tools to be able to do that very successfully. But then on top of that, I think this is a core difference between, for example, a MailChimp or Constant Contact and Klaviyo, which is because of that integration, your whole product catalog is also going to sit in the email template editor. So you can actually bring products, right, from your product catalog specifically into an email, which allows these customers rather, to shop your emails and provide relevant information to them.
Nice. And what about frequency? We get that question a lot too. And our answer always is, listen, we have to build out a campaign calendar. We should know everything that your winery is doing. Is there, just best practice, on frequency of campaigns going out? Is there a number that Klaviyo likes to promote?
It's a good question. So I wouldn't say there's a specific number, but I think that we build in to our platform some parameters that make sure that you're not spamming people, right? Because that's always a big concern. Like, hey, we don't want someone to receive 3 or 4 emails in the same day, right? And so what Klaviyo allows you to do, and we have a feature called Smart Send Time, which if you have a campaign that you want to reach everyone and you need it to reach everyone, you turn Smart Send Time off. Same thing goes with flows. So you can actually rank which flows have the highest priority. For example, a cart abandonment email typically has very high priority because it's a high conversion revenue tied metric. But there may be flows that aren't as important for people to get. And if they've already received a campaign within the last 12 or 18 hours, you actually don't want them to receive that message. And so we build these parameters into the platform that make sure that you can control the messaging and make sure that you're not over communicating with your customers.
That's great. I'm glad you mentioned the over communicating, because that question also comes up a lot too. I don't want to send. I want to be, very careful that we're not over sending. And our attitude always is, yes, we want to be, we want to be careful. But at the same time, when you're sending, the right message to the right person at the right time, you're not as concerned about that. Not everybody's getting the same message, and they're not all getting it at the same time. And again, if they want to be on your list and you're giving them, value, then there's something to be said about communicating with them. Let's not be afraid to communicate with the customer. I think it's a, very, very important rule to remember. Let me talk about just, our background, what led us ultimately to the winery world. Was a lot of research in the world of compliance, shipping compliance, and all the rules that go along with it. Is there anything that wineries need to be aware of or be concerned about when it comes to, the specific rules that certain states have as it relates to email, or is that just not really a concern? It's more on a shipping side.
It's mostly on the shipping side. And I think Ep27 does a phenomenal job of baking that into their platform and helping their customers and wineries, manage that. On the communication side, with email, there really isn't restrictions. With SMS, though, there is a higher level of compliance required. And I can kind of speak towards this a little bit. But basically, the carriers have determined that you need to have certain benchmarks to be able to send a text message to customers. And what they've determined right now, and again, this is pretty fluid because SMS is a little bit of a newer channel than email, but what they've determined is that brands need to have age gating beyond just, are you 21 to enter the site? You actually have to have an automated SMS that goes out when someone signs up that asks if they're 21 and makes them provide their birth date that then gets synced into their profile. So currently, brands are actually not able to use SMS on Klaviyo at the moment. However, we are working on that feature and expect it to be out at some point in 2023. So it's something that we're working on. Again, we don't have a definitive timeline, so I can't give you an exact answer on when that's coming. But I would imagine that eventually we will have a feature offering to allow brands to use SMS and leverage all of that awesome data that's being leveraged on the email side and adding another communication channel there as well.
I think you just got a round of applause from everybody out there, because SMS just keeps popping up. Obviously, outside of the winery world, we get a lot of questions. We offer it as a service. We manage SMS for a number of clients, and especially now as we get into the winery world, that younger audience, right? The one that will probably communicate more via text message than they will via email. That's who wineries really want to start that relationship with, right? People who are over 21 years of age, but that are, they like their phones. They're on their phones all the time. And it's great to hear that you guys are working on a solution, and that solution is around the corner, so to speak. And we can't wait to get our hands on it and help wineries really leverage the power of email and SMS together, because that's where that power is. It's not one or the other. It's for them working together in tandem is where we see a lot of power. Let's just go back to segmentation, because we feel like there are two elements that we feel are incredibly important to email marketing working really well. One is email capture, right? You got to capture. Whether you're doing it at the tasting room, in person, or you're doing it on the site. So once you're done capturing, then comes the beautiful world of segmentation. What recommendations would you give a winery to ask on that capture form or in the tasting room that would help with segmentation? Is there anything that you would speak to?
Yeah, so we have native sign-up forms on Klaviyo. These can either be pop-ups that pop up when someone enters your site. And because we have on-site tracking and because our integration with Ep27 is so deep, we can actually understand, is this person visiting your site someone new, Or is this someone who's already in your profile base and therefore they won't see that pop up? So we make it a much more seamless process rather than pop up coming up every single time you visit. We also have embedded forms, which would be a capture form at the bottom of the website if someone wanted to sign up there. I think the secondary piece to this, and a really important one, is how do you capture at the actual winery? And there's a couple ways you can do this, right? Someone places an order at the winery to send a shipment of wine home. They're going to provide their email address for receipt. But we also recommend using QR codes in the tasting room so that if someone wants to sign up for communications, they can do that. And we have a couple QR code providers that natively integrate with Klaviyo. So if someone were to use that QR code, that profile would automatically come into our system. And not to go on too much of a tangent here, because I think the collection piece is super important, but that integration partner piece is really important too. We have over 200 one-click integrations similar to what we have with Commerce7 across the technology stack. So whether it be reviews, loyalty, lead capture like QR codes, we have so many of these partners that have built awesome technology, and that data automatically gets added to the profile level, like we showed you a little bit before, that can then be used for segmentation, right?
Fantastic.
It can also be used for Facebook or social media marketing like Google Ads, right? So if you're running social campaigns on Facebook or Instagram and you're using the metapixel for lookalike audiences, it's pretty good, but the metapixel has kind of become a little bit less accurate since they changed some of their policies. And you can actually use a free Facebook integration through Klaviyo where you can make a live segment of your customer base and automatically pull those people into Facebook to market to them and use lookalike audiences of your actual customer base. So something that maybe we could talk a little bit about, but an awesome feature that a lot of wineries are using to enhance their social media strategy as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, maybe to speak to this, that they don't have to integrate, that part doesn't have to integrate directly with Commerce7. Essentially, Klaviyo sits in the middle and is the data hub. And it allows that connection to happen and allows you to leverage these other pieces of technology outside of the world of Commerce7 potentially that can help your sales within Commerce7. So I love, I think if anybody, is catching on to this, this is powerful marketing. But not complicated. It doesn't, it's not a complicated. Yes, an agency like ours can come in and really, expand this and grow this, but you can get started with it as a winery if you want to just get your feet in there and build a couple of simple flows out there and start sending your campaigns, and then start seeing the effects. Now let's talk about those. The maybe the ultimate question that gets asked: how much money am I going to make using email marketing? What's my revenue lift going to be? Can I afford your services, SKU agency, because of what you're doing? What are you seeing in general out there in terms of revenue lift?
Yep. So to preface that, we have a little bit over 30 brands from Commerce7 now using Klaviyo. That's up from 2 at the beginning of this year.
Amazing.
So it's really starting to gain some traction in the winery space. We're really excited about where the potential opportunity is here for wine brands to really leverage this. Of the data set that we've collected so far, and again, it's not huge, right? But it's impactful. Sure. We're seeing about a 41% Klaviyo attributed value, which means Klaviyo is generating about 40% of the online revenue for the wineries on our platform. And they are seeing, on average, a 58x return on investment. So that means for every dollar spent on Klaviyo, they're seeing about a $58 return on that investment.
Which is amazing, because I know there's a stat out there for that, the general stat that for every dollar brands, just general brands outside of, are making $42, but in the winery space, 58. I mean, let's underline that. That is an amazing, if you just think about that, you just put in $1 and you made $58. Where are you going to see that kind of return on investment? Not nowhere that I know of. So I think that's
a strong return. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple reasons too, Ramin, right? Like, wineries and wine in general is a little bit of a premium, more expensive good than you might find, typically online. And so the cost of acquiring that purchase, right, has a massive return if you're selling really expensive goods. Yeah. And so a case of wine or a bottle of wine is typically going to yield a really strong return on Klaviyo, because the cost to use Klaviyo is still the same if you were selling a $5 product compared to
Sure.
a $100,
Sure.
$200 product.
Yeah, yeah. And just think of the customer lifetime value that can be gained utilizing email marketing and eventually down the road SMS marketing, and being able to see that CLTV grow, and you're really building that relationship, growing that relationship with your customer. And if they don't hear from you, they're not going to come back. They will forget about you potentially, right? They'll get, you got to be there. You got to be talking to them. There's a lot of noise out there, and you got to rise above that. So we love email marketing for that purposes, and can't wait for the SMS marketing side to come in. But make no mistake, email is not dead. It is thriving. It is thriving in this industry. And we love what it can do, and we're so appreciative that Klaviyo is continuing to invest in the technology side, making our world better and better, and ultimately making the world of a winery even better, so they can grow, which is the most important element. So I appreciate it. Is there anything else specific to this that you'd like to mention, just as we wrap up and before we move into the rapid fire side of things, maybe the more lighthearted side of the questions? Anything else?
Yeah, for sure. I think to the piece about return on investment and Klaviyo attributed value, I think our cost structure is a really important thing to note as well. So we're month to month. We don't have any base fees in Klaviyo. You can actually go on your computer right now and sign up for a Klaviyo account for free and integrate Commerce 7. The cost of the Commerce 7 integration, at least at the time of this recording, is through Bodhi. It's $50, the same as MailChimp, right? So from a cost perspective, you don't have to make a massive investment to be able to see your data in Klaviyo and see if it's going to make sense for your winery.
Right.
On top of that, we're month to month. So there's no contracts involved. It's paid through credit card. This is an easy product to try out and see if it's going to work for you. I will note, and this is probably the number that I'm most happy and proud of the 30 plus wineries that have joined Klaviyo over the past year, 0 of them have left.
Beautiful.
So we're seeing a really strong return here. We're seeing brands really leverage the platform in a successful way. And I think that piece of data right there is a really important one, because it shows that brands don't want to leave, even though they have an opportunity to leave every month.
Sure. Yeah. No, that speaks volumes. And good to remember, that when retention is there, when a platform is doing what it says it's going to do, that is an important element. So we love to see that too. And I think our clients get excited. They look at the numbers when we have reporting calls, every month, and we're showing continuous increase, and we're showing all the A/B testing that we've been able to do. I mean, these are all things that matter to a brand. And, clients, they start to understand, like, oh, okay, that's why that makes sense. And then they start comparing it to their other marketing platforms, which we're not saying stop anything else to do email marketing. In fact, you still need that top of the funnel traffic to come in. So you still need to do other forms of marketing to drive traffic to the site, obviously to the winery itself. But we just, we're very excited, to work with brands in the winery space to really see and, bring that level of expertise and excitement. I think at the end of the day, I think that's, if I was a winery brand, I'd be very excited to see those kind of numbers. I'd want to see them right away. All right. So you ready to jump in and do a little, a rapid fire, as we wind this podcast down?
Let's do it.
All right. So what gets you excited to wake up and tackle the day each and every day?
So, I think for me personally, I love to build things. So starting back in the hard seltzer space and now being at Klaviyo and having the opportunity to help build out this go-to-market for the the winery space, super exciting, right? I love watching these brands grow. I love watching these new and innovative strategies that they're using. And I love being able to make an impact on that too, right? Like being able to meet with these brands and speak with them and talk to them about their marketing strategy, where things can be optimized, definitely gets me pretty excited. And it's something that, going into 23, I think is going to be an awesome opportunity to keep growing on.
Yeah, no, I love it. So what's your drink of choice to get you up in the morning?
Coffee, 100%.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Black?
100%. Black. Yep.
Black?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep.
I think the stats, we should run stats. I think literally we're at 98% black coffee, everybody.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Wow.
one person said a little oat milk, and that was that's what they went with that. So now and this is here's a question that I don't ever ask. What's your favorite wine? But I may as well ask it now.
That's a tough question. Wow. So, my wife and I got engaged last year in
Congratulations.
Napa.
Nice.
And the winery that we got engaged at is a very small winery called Tres Perlas. So
Oh.
really delicious wine. Highly recommend.
Mm.
But I think also a very special place to us. So I'm going to go with Tres Perlas.
Okay, very nice. I love it. I love it. And anything specific over there, or everything that they have is amazing?
Everything's really good. Their Cabernet is awesome.
Mm.
So if
All
you're
right.
able to get your hands on some Cabernet from Tres Perlas, definitely a good one.
All right, very cool. And we just put up a screen, their website up on the screen. You can see, and a good example. Do you know if they're using Klaviyo?
They're not. They actually don't sell their products
Oh,
outside of the winery, so it's small.
interesting.
If
Okay.
I, yeah, I there's some other wineries that I love as well that
Mm,
are maybe a little bit larger
mm,
and would be a little bit more accessible. Good
mm.
one that I think is really nice, especially their like premium vintages. The Hess
Mhm.
Person um, vintages are really great. We were there
Yeah,
a few weeks ago, and they are a Klaviyo customer as well. So
nice. Very
um,
cool. Very good.
yeah.
So besides the job that you're doing today at Klaviyo, what else would you do if you weren't doing that job?
Um, Love playing golf. I'm a big golfer,
Mm.
and in the winter here in Boston, because we definitely have a heavy winter season, 5 months
Uh-huh.
of the year. Snowboarding. So I go up to
Nice.
Jay Peak, right up in Vermont, and try to get at least 20 days up there winter. So
I
I like to
love
stay
it.
active.
I
Yeah.
love it. What's your go-to SaaS software or app on your phone, the one you cannot live without?
Probably LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're constantly scrolling LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're watching this, feel free
Yeah.
to connect with me on LinkedIn or feel free
Yeah.
to shoot me an email. Would be happy to connect with you and chat about
Yeah.
all things wine. So
We'll put those in the show notes for sure.
yeah, awesome.
I think it's if I go in order, it's email, Slack, and LinkedIn. Those are the three we get all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were like social. Okay, yeah. I mean, email for sure, Slack for sure.
Yeah. I think it's
But
one
for
of
fun, LinkedIn.
yeah, I think I love LinkedIn. We love, obviously we're live on there right now, so yeah, it's a great platform.
Nice.
So if you give yourself one superpower that you don't, well, I don't know, unless you have some superpowers that we don't know about, what superpower would you give yourself?
Oh man, I didn't prepare for this. If I had to have one superpower, it'd probably be the ability to transport. Um,
Ah, nice.
yeah,
Uh,
travel is something that I'd love to do. It'd be awesome if we could just do it at the snap of a finger. So
Oh gosh.
teleportation.
Yeah, I'd be back in New York right now, just walking the streets in New York. Love it. What's your favorite online store and why?
Favorite online store? Ooh, hmm. It's a good question.
We do
I'm
get
gonna go.
Amazon, by the way. People do say Amazon. It's okay if that is.
Not Amazon for me. I mean, I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon. So I just recently bought some boots from Sorel. So maybe
Oh,
it's a little recency bias, but just got some
yeah.
awesome winter boots and thought they had a pretty great experience there too. So
Nice. Did you go for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale?
I did. I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. I love it. Well, this is awesome. Michael, thank you so much for coming on and talking all things wine, all things email marketing. We're, as I said, super excited about, our partnership and, working with Commerce 7, working with Klaviyo and working with Digimatic and really just helping wineries out there grow their business. And nothing better than seeing a big smile on their face after every reporting call when they see those numbers starting to happen and they see their business just growing and flourishing because of this. So appreciate you coming on and sharing all your insight today. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Ramin, and
Yeah.
excited for the Commerce 7 webinar that you guys are running. I think that's going to be great
Yeah.
for a lot of these Commerce 7 brands to kind of take a look under the hood and see what everything looks like. So
Yeah,
yeah, thanks so
yeah,
much for having me.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And anything you'd like to plug? I know we're going to put in your LinkedIn profile link in the show notes. If you want us, we can put your email address. Anything else? Maybe where they can learn about Klaviyo. I think we've put Klaviyo up on the screen 20 times during this presentation, or during this podcast. But anything else you'd like to plug? Feel free.
That'd be great. Yeah, please feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to chat about your winery in Klaviyo. Again, you can always make a free account and integrate Commerce 7 for just the monthly cost. So you can really see what this looks like before making a decision. If you want to see what the Klaviyo platform looks like in a little abbreviated demo, Bodhi from Digimatic actually has a little demo recorded on his website, which can give you a look at what things in the platform actually look like with the Commerce 7 integration. So would recommend checking that out. And
Yeah.
yeah, excited for the future of what Commerce 7 and Klaviyo are going to do together.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much. I hope you have a great, it's a great start to your week, and I hope the rest of the week is fantastic for you as well. Thank you very much for coming on.
Same to you. Thanks.
All right. All right, that brings us to the end of another episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. This was great. We love talking all things wine and email marketing. Don't forget to check out our past episodes, which are all up on YouTube on demand. We will put the recorded version of this up on all the channels shortly. And as always, if you need help, if you're a winery that needs help with your email marketing and specifically maybe a transition to Klaviyo, reach out to us. You can go to SKU Agency, SKU, in the word agency.com/wine, and you can book a 15-minute complimentary call. We'll talk to you all about what it looks like and make sure that you're on the road to success. So thank you very much,